Welcome, welcome, welcome. I had to do my best John Oliver impression. Welcome to another picnic basket edition of the Rational Investor. You've got me, the bear, in the house again. This is my last day solo, and before Brian comes back next week. Tomorrow, I think we've got the baby powder report, and then it's back to your regularly scheduled program. I got a lot of really great feedback again today from everyone. So I really appreciate all the kind words. This has been really fun for me. I really enjoyed it. Yeah, this is my last day sober, Colleen, and then I'm gonna drink myself into a drunken stupor after making my Ethereum trade. But yeah, definitely, it might actually be my last day sober. I've got a lot of partying to do once I get home. I guess now that it's springtime, everyone wants to have cookouts and drinking parties when the sun comes out, and then your liver goes to shit. So yeah, welcome to my last day sober. Anyway, I also believe it might be the last day that the markets are going to be sober. We've got our crazy headlines and just like all kinds of garbage happening. But luckily, I've got everyone in the community here to keep, we're all keeping each other sane. We've got the bus driver, Alex, here keeping me sane and making sure everything runs smoothly. So I'm grateful to have him around. He's really been wonderful these last 2 weeks. Thank you so much. You still doing okay over there?
Yes, sir. All is fine in Vienna, I guess.
Yeah, do you have sunshine there?
No, it's still raining, so I gotta wear my rain pants.
Oh, wow, that's unfortunate. Those can get terribly hot if they're not breathable.
Yeah, that's fine.
Well, I hope the weather changes for you soon. You have a good weekend ahead of you. Um, let's see. Anything I want to address before we start? I think we've kind of delivered the important message here of not to FOMO, even though the markets look incredibly strong and there's really no signs of topping out. We discussed in Bitcoin and Ethereum that, hey, the potential upside is there, but is the upside outweighing the downside? And I believe on a couple of these trades that it's not. So you have to keep that in mind, that while price still kind of stair steps its way higher, the downside is still very much in play. So keep that in mind. All right, so let us play stock market for a bit. I know everyone's got crypto on their mind, but I actually believe that the broader markets here are impacting crypto in ways that we haven't seen in a long time. Boy, Adam, you and Colleen are having a flirt session down there. I think you guys need to cut it out. You're making me hot now, too. All right. So let's take a gander here. Stock market's up about 270 odd points. The Dow is up. The S&P's up as well. We've got some interesting signals coming in across the markets. I mean, I think this is a sucker's rally. I think that anyone that's kind of buying into this level is just kind of hoping that the trade war is over. But I mean, quite frankly, I think it's far from over. I don't think we see any reasons why this thing should really just stop impacting the markets anytime soon. So let's take a look at some charts. I do have the Euro US dollar on here, and it looks like that thing got crushed into New York kill zone here. So that means the dollar got stronger, which is interesting because I believe that the Chinese actually ended up selling a bunch of US 10 and 30-year notes. So how's that impacting the dollar? There's more dollars around. I mean, I could have that wrong, but I mean, I'm kind of surprised here why we have dollar strength in the face of sort of Chinese war. Like, oh, you guys screwed us. Well, we're going to screw you back and we're going to sell your treasuries. Okay. We want Will to look at the monthly SP option. Oh, is that tomorrow? The monthly expires tomorrow. Okay, that'll be interesting. So we'll take a look at the open interest and the OPEX situation there. The dollar on the hourly here, wow, really definitely broken out from its lows here. So this is interesting news. So like I said, I think the dollar story is still on. I don't think anything's changed to the dollar bull narrative. And that means that weaker euro prices, weaker currency prices overall. That includes the Chinese yuan. As the yuan continues to lose ground, I think that what you're seeing is the people that have yuan denominated currencies that they're like okay, this looks bad. The trade war with the US could potentially instigate a situation where our own currency could be devalued. Now, if you are a person living in China and your money would be worth half of what it is today in a few months, what would you ostensibly do? I think there's two alternatives. One, or actually three alternatives. The first is change it over into US dollars, which right now the capital controls in China are very much preventing that. I tweeted out an article about that like last week. There was a lady that, yeah, I'm getting there. Chill out there, Phil. You're stealing my thunder. And Alicia too. You guys are all getting the story already. You guys are really on top of stuff. It's good to see that the narrative is taking hold in a community. So really what we're looking for is a way of diversifying assets. Like you live in China, you don't want to lose half your value or whatever percent it does go down. So you're looking at ways of getting out of it. So that would include US dollar. But again, I tweeted out that article that there are capital controls. A woman went to a bank, tried to withdraw money out of her US dollar denominated bank account in a Chinese bank. And they said, no, sorry, you're not allowed to withdraw anything. The limit is $3,000. She only asked for $300. And the teller basically said no. And that's what's happening in China. I mean, it makes perfect sense. They don't want you going anywhere. They want the money to stay there to keep things inflated. WeChat came out and we know that they banned cryptocurrency transactions within the app. They also banned merchants from doing their transactions in cryptocurrency. This is another way of keeping capital denominated in yuan, keeping money in the system. They're going to keep closing all the holes. But it seems like there is a lot of flow into Bitcoin. So what I would be really fascinating to see, and this is almost like very different from what I've been doing on the air here, is I'm going to take a look at the Chinese yuan and I'm going to overlay this chart with a Bitcoin US dollar chart. And let's see what's happening, right? So this is the US dollar is getting stronger. So I guess what I should really do is invert this chart. So I should really be looking at the CNY USD, right? So this is denominated in yuan. There you go. So there's the yuan. This is a daily chart. So let's add BTC USD, and we'll use, oh, that would be a bad joke. I'm not going to say that. Poor Cryptopia. Bitstamp, because we used Coinbase last time, and Alex really wanted Stamp, so you get Stamp this time. Kumbaya, we all win. This is all going to be screwed up, isn't it? Great. I guess what I want to do is take this off and just add this a different way. So take this off here and add it here. All right, come on. Oh, that's not the right thing. All right, so I'm going to split these things and then I'm going to merge them. You're watching the struggles with trading view that I have almost on a daily basis here. So BTC USD against Chinese yuan. I'm going to take this out of the picture here. But I mean, you guys pretty much know exactly where I'm going with this. So I'm sure everyone can imagine that once I get this thing working, you're seeing the yuan come down in value as you're seeing Bitcoin going up in value. Now, the exact dates are going to be interesting to see if we can visualize, is there actually a leading indicator here? Like, can we look at the yuan to give us a hint that, hey, maybe Bitcoin is still on its way up? So let's sync these up. We're going to get April, let's do April 1st, because that looks like right around when Bitcoin took off. Oh my God, my freaking screen is so slow here. Let's close some tabs. Bye-bye, bye-bye to you. And we'll take this one back here, and let's hope that this started working again. Hello. All right, cool. So April 1st, you can see is right here. The yuan has not broken down just yet. You can see there was almost like a warning shot on the yuan here at the end of March, but we were kind of going through the sideways consolidation. Same thing with Bitcoin. If we zoom out, sideways consolidation, but I'd be damned, right? This thing is pretty incredibly correlated inversely. Like April 1st, April 2nd is when this thing really started breaking out. And sure, the Chinese yuan was like, I don't know if I want to break down just yet. And sure enough, the real breakdown started on April 18th. And I'd argue that was the day when the FOMO really started to, or the real buying, not the FOMO just yet, but that was your true, like, this is a continuation breakout, right? This thing just continued to rally higher in the, oh, damn it. Why is this Bitfinex? Whatever. That's probably why this thing looks crazy. Let's go to Stamp. I know that there was just a premium. The technicals and the candle pattern should look pretty similar. Oh, freaking hell, I put it in the wrong. Oh, this is fun, right? Let's wrestle with TradingView to get things working right. But nonetheless, I think it's quite clear here that there is an inverse correlation. Is there a bit of a leading indicator for Bitcoin that, you know, people started piling into this thing before the yuan crashed? Are they directly inversely correlated? Like as capital flows out of the yuan, does it flow directly into Bitcoin? I don't know. I think that's an interesting thought experiment to take and something interesting to watch. As the yuan continues to move lower, will we see Bitcoin continue to take off higher? I'd be interested to see as well, if you see the yuan start to establish a bottom, does that mean Bitcoin starts to establish a top? These are all things that I think we should keep in mind, because right now it's quite clear, not only to me, but it seems like several other professionals and, you know, or whatever they're called, like self-appointed professionals, they also believe that this is a capital outflow from China. And, you know, there's retail participating, maybe some institutions, but I think this is mainly a Chinese-driven story that people there are afraid about what's going to happen to their currency. So breakdown again was on, what do we say, like April break up in Bitcoin was April 18th. Now this one looks like it's May 3rd. All right, so I'm confused. Okay, here's the April 22nd, right? The Finex and Stamp charts look very different. We have to be careful not to associate the Finex disaster with what's going on with the rest of the market. So let's use Stamp here. The 23rd of April is when this thing really broke out. And sure enough, the 23rd of April is when this thing really started to get going to the downside, really the 25th, and then toward the end of the month. And this is when it started dumping hard and Bitcoin started going parabolic. All right, I think you guys get the story here. So look for bottoms in the yuan to signal tops in Bitcoin, or vice versa. I would love to see a leading indicator out of the yuan to tell us what's going on. Didn't China ban crypto? I don't know if they banned the thing completely. So Adam, you're welcome to reach out to me privately and we can discuss the yuan floats. We talked about that before the last few days. So yeah, I mean, it's interesting what's going on in China, but how is this impacting the broader market and how is this impacting the narrative? I mean, look, the US market's rallying at this point, right? You're seeing things, I mean, not rallying, it's trying to bounce. And this is so typical of these markets and how they behave after bad news hits, right? You see the market take a dump, take a deep dive, or whatever you might call it. Maybe it's not a deep dive, but a pullback. And all of a sudden, things look terrible, but the people who buy the dip show up, whether that's the plunge protection team, the, you know, whatever magic trading fairy shows up and buys this thing up. I don't really see a true reason for this thing to be retesting the highs just yet. I don't see these trade tensions resolving. I see them getting worse. I see Donald Trump holding strong, imposing more tariffs, and forcing this market down. I think this is a sucker's rally. I think this is the kind of thing where you're getting a whole bunch of people getting like, okay, America's so strong, we're not going to be impacted by these tariffs. And it's sort of a false idea, right? This is like a bull trap is what I would call it. I think we're just, you know, backfilling, coming back up, and really we're going to be retesting the neckline at 78.6 here on the S&P. I am extremely interested in taking a short position at these levels today. I also think, and it's interesting that, I got to scroll up here. Will asked me to look at the OPEC situation. I think this has a lot to do with options expiry. Like, I would almost bet before we go and check this thing that there is a peg between 289 and 291 where there's a ton of open interest and Wall Street's like, well, we can't let this thing expire below that because we'll lose a ton of money. So let's go and steal some of Julian's thunder. He's usually on today, so he'd be talking about this this open interest thing. I think this is the site that he uses, Opricot. I know there's a couple of other ones, but this does a really nice job of visualizing it. I know Brian likes to go directly to the CBOE itself. So interestingly, there's a lot of puts at the 290 area. So that means if we can close above 290, all these people are going to lose money. All the retail public's going to lose money, and the guys who wrote these things are going to they're going to pocket all that money. So, I mean, to me, this thing's going over 290 tomorrow, and I think it's staying below 297. So we're kind of pinned between these two areas. I mean, for this thing to go over 297, I think would shock a lot of people. Like, there would have to be some resolution of trade war. Look, 297 is like new highs. That ain't happening. I'm sorry. Like, I'll stick my neck out and say it's just not happening. I don't think this trade war is resolving today. I don't think it's resolving tomorrow. And there's no way we're going to 297. But I'm happy to be wrong, right? I would just love for this market to everything to resolve itself and everyone makes a ton of money to the upside. That would be cool with me too. But I think I'm going to be taking my put position. So where would I be looking for? This isn't going to be an SOF or anything, and it's probably a waste of time for a lot of the people here that are listening for me to go through that trade, other than the fact that I'm looking to buy puts probably with a strike price of like the 283. No, I probably could only get the 285s. So if I buy the 285, if my target is the 285, I'd probably be looking at something like the 290s. So maybe something really right at the money, something like that, if it's priced properly. Volatility has come off quite a bit here. So your ability to buy puts should be getting more and more attractive. And boy, am I happy I sold my my VIX contracts, right? Maybe it's time for me to buy these things back again on the call side, because we've settled back below 15. I mean, look how quickly this thing's come back down. Lo and behold, it's filling in that gap, right? So anyone that is a gap hunter, cough Joshua, anyone else who really likes gap theory, neckline breakouts, we're right into those levels, right? I mean, it makes complete sense for me to understand that we tested 38.2. It was almost like a manufactured trade. The fact that we came off so hard on Monday and VIX didn't spike to new highs, this was like being on headline news. You know, CNBC should have been all over this shit, but of course they're not. So this is coming back out down into a level. I mean, we're probably in a reload zone. Just from eyeballing this thing, it looks like we're at a mountain man level. Just take your low to your high. Of course, yeah, we're right below mountain man. I mean, anything lower, and I'm buying my calls back. So I may take a double whammy trade here where I buy puts on the SPY and buy calls on the VIX, but that's a lot of risk, right? So if that trade goes against me, it goes against me in both senses of the matter here, in terms of volatility continuing to come down and the S&P going back up. But I'm like very certain of this idea. Like that's the other thing about trading these markets, right? In order to get a good idea of what you want to do, you have to sort of construct the story in your mind. Like, what do I see happening? What's going on in the political landscape? What's going on in the news? What are they saying versus what is really reality? What's being broadcast to the American people to make them believe that their assets are safe and that everything's tickety-boo, to prevent them from selling off all of the shit, right? If everyone runs for the exits at the same time, this is a nightmare scenario. But that's not the narrative that anybody in the media wants to play off. So everything's great. We're recovering. Kramer's probably saying it's a great buy to buy everything. I didn't listen to him, so you never know what he's up to. But I mean, the story and the narrative that's in my mind is very similar to the market huddle guys, right? They think that this rally is very much a sucker's rally as well, and that this trade war is more serious than anyone else in the media is making it seem. So things that I'm looking at are things like, I think I said yesterday I shorted the railroads, and I think I was taking a bit of heat yesterday on this trade. It looks like I'm taking a bit more heat today, but that's okay, right? I think this thing's going to roll over into next week. It's not like I bought the bottom. I don't think, I didn't short the bottom by any means. I think I bought these either, 2 days ago. So I'm right around where I where I bought my puts. I'm probably getting volatility, not crushed, but it's definitely hurting the position. But any kind of move lower is going to put me in a nice spot. I think this thing has broken down. We already talked about the internals there. A couple of other, energy was a really weird sector. I feel like that really shit the bed over the last couple of weeks. Let's see how that thing's recovering, because I think it might be interesting to short this thing again a little too early. You can see there's some gaps up here. Something's going on in the energy sector. This thing actually broke before the rest of the market did, and that was an interesting tell in of itself. Oil is I don't trade oil or anything like RBOB or WTI or USO. I don't trade any of those. And there are some of you that are probably interested in it. I know I actually have this article here about some kind of Iran-ordered Aramco pipeline drone attack. If Iran's flying their drones around with missiles on them and they're blowing up the pipeline, that certainly should be shooting oil prices up. And I remember listening last week, people were kind of lost as to the reason why oil didn't shoot up in the face of all the things that were going on, including the U.S. sending forces over to Iran. So something's disconnected there. Let's see, WTI, I should have this somewhere. Yeah, so I should have the oil trade futures. So let's just do the front month here. Let's see what we got. Come on. All right, this thing is really slow today. How am I doing on my audio? Am I cutting in and out, or do I sound okay?
No, you're good.
All right.
I guess we're fine.
All right, good. Thanks. Glad to hear. All right, so WTI doesn't seem to be loading. I must have the wrong contract. Let me see if I can get this other one up. If anyone even pays attention, it's like, when crypto, when moon, shut up with the frickin' stock market, you jerk. Sorry, I just got to get it out of the way. All right, so US oil's at about 63 bucks. Like, look what happened. This thing's rallying off of all this crazy news. I mean, I've never really understood how to properly trade oil, and there are people that make a great living off of it. And they pay attention to the inventories, the builds, the drawdowns of those inventories. They pay attention to conflicts. And you know what? I can't seem to understand how anyone gets it right. They're always like, well, I didn't really understand why there was a massive drawdown, but the price continued to go down. Well, it turns out Cushing, Oklahoma had a whole bunch of what do they call it? Crude distillate in their inventory, and it turns out that that's going to be more expensive to turn into whatever, and it makes the price not follow the actual inventories. I mean, I'm sorry, but I'm not involved in that industry, and there's just so many other things to play from my perspective. There are some people that understand it really well. If you're one of those people, mentor me. I'd love to learn. I don't get it. It's always been a fascinating field. Like Brian loves running his day trade model on crude. It's almost like, the guys who used to trade on the floors, who have been around for a while, they just love trading oil contracts. It's like their bread and butter. They grew up doing it. It's like they can't imagine not trading. It's so fun to trade that contract. I guess I wasn't brought up that way in this market. All right, what else are we going to look at here? I think it was interesting to note that the commodities like gold and silver are still kind of like floundering around. Like one of the headline stories was gold lost a big amount here. I mean, look, the dollar's rallying, gold's retesting its neckline. Is this the place to be buying as opposed to following these headline news stories like, oh, gold's over, the markets are rallying, tensions are weakening between, tensions are resolving themselves? I don't know where people are getting that from. I'm actually really interested in taking a long position on gold going into next week. So it's almost like I'm just positioning myself across the board for this to continue happening. So long gold is kind of what I'm thinking. I'm going to play that through the GLD as opposed to, if I'm going to be trading it, I'd like to trade it through the GLD as opposed to the spot market or through the futures contracts. So maybe we should save that for another time too, because that is also an options play. So this thing's sitting at 121. It was pretty high the last few days, but hey, we're coming back down into an area. We've got this confirmed divergence. You've got your market structure. Not quite the best location in the world, right? I would have liked to have seen this thing come all the way down, but that's what happened in the spot market. This thing came down to roughly 50%, and now it's kind of trying to pick itself up off the ground. I'm not saying gold's going to rally to new highs, and this isn't a 6-month trade. It's probably something for the next month or two, or maybe a bit longer, depending on how bad these tensions get. Boy, it's like everything is centered around this China thing. And it's interesting, like the people in Europe, I was listening to people asking me what we think in the U.S. about what's going on with China, and we tell them it sounds like it's bad, right? We're gonna have to pay more money for goods that we're used to paying less money for, and nobody's gonna like that. And all the Europeans that I've talked to, they're just like, well, to us, we actually think that it's a good thing that Trump is standing up to China. Somebody needed to do it. And from our perspective, even though we hate Trump, it's probably the best thing he's ever done. And I got this out of a lot of different people here, and it actually blew my mind, because the Europeans hate Trump. They think he's the dumbest guy in the world. And for them to say, you know what, we kind of respect him for what he was doing, I was like, my brain almost flew out of my ears. Couldn't believe what I was hearing there. So good for them. All right, maybe we'll do one article here that I lost. That's cool. Oh, here it is. So this is, you guys know that I love following this Charlie McElligott guy. I didn't get a chance to read this thing, so bear with me while I start reading out loud. But he said the last 3 days have seen dip buyers return to the market. Last week's regime change to rip sellers, but now buy the BTFD, does that mean buy the fucking dip? Did I get that right? Or buy the French dip? No, that can't be right. Regime dead cat bounce may be over. Nobody's telling me what BTFD is. I should know that because that's all over crypto Twitter. Buy the freaking dip? All right, whatever. Like a broken record, McElligott details the equity story is once again about index futures and ETF options, Greeks, and VIX term structure. So right now, it looks like the VIX is popping back up here in terms of its positive poise narrative, right? This thing dipped really negatively over the last week or so after we saw that massive spike in volatility. So now we're seeing further extension of this short squeeze. So, I mean, somebody's fighting back here, right? I think it's a lot of these dark pool money. It's like the options guys. They're all fighting against this thing, and they want to keep it above that level. Maybe it's because of this monthly OPEX. Maybe after expiry, you see next week things really hit the fan. That's what I'm expecting. That's how I'm going to play this. If I'm wrong and we continue to rally, like I got to abandon ship, right? I just got to be okay with that and get out of the way of the freight train. So this is a little bit more complicated. They talk about short gamma. This is all crazy stuff that hedge funds do. So they're looking at a pull higher to the big OPEC strikes, right? Those are the options expirations that we looked at yesterday, which actually align with a neutral dealer gamma profile, thus expecting a stickier range, right? They want to keep this thing in range in order to keep people. Look, so you've got your 2880, your 2900. We're looking at what? We saw 2890, was that right on the OPEX? Where's my SPY? I'm pretty sure we said what, 2890. Yeah, so we're at 2888. So anything over 2890, and they're going to take home all that money there. So those are your puts positions, 290, and this guy is saying the same sort of thing, right? Am I in the right? Okay, yeah, so 290s. Let's see what these things look like. 2890s, sorry. The 2880s, there's a whole bunch. 2890s, not as much. 2900, a lot going on in this market. Into OPEX, we'll most likely see a pin at the 2850 level, although the potential pull up to 2880 as the most realistic course of action. A complete and total freak out would see a move to 2900 with 4.4 billion gamma. So, if they really want to hurt all those shorts, they can pull it all the way up to 2900. I mean, from the OPEX chart we just looked at, contrary to what this guy's looking at, he sees 2850 to 2880. But it would make sense that they would just try to hurt as many people as possible. To me, 2890 looks more realistic, unless I have the wrong expiration. 517, that's tomorrow. I mean, I think I have this right. Is he talking about the same thing? If anyone can double check me on that while I'm going through this. Is tomorrow the big expiration, or is it next week? I'm pretty sure it's the middle of the month. It should be, yeah, so 517. This should be this contract. But I'm paying attention to the chat if anybody wants to chime in there. Yeah, tomorrow. Okay, cool. So Colleen is, oh shit, I didn't share my screen there. Sorry. I was using a different tab. All right. I hope you got the majority of that, but let's scroll down a little bit more. The VIX futures, this is another term thing. Term structure inverted, right? VIX looked really wonky going into last week. So is the squeeze over and freak out? We're going to have to wait until next week to see, but I'm going to be positioning myself in the way that I've probably beaten this dead horse to. So shorting market, long VIX, long gold, and I'm shorting rail. I've already got a position on railroad, so choo to the bottom. I wonder what's, that's probably not even worth it. All right, forget it. I think we're done here with the stock market. Did I miss anything on the screen? Like, does anyone want me to go back and talk about anything that I might not have had on my screen because I was looking at the wrong place? Alicia says I'm good. All right, feel free to let me know if I need to go over anything else. But I think I'm going to leave Stockland. Maybe actually, I think there was an SOF play that the guys were getting really excited about 2 weeks ago. I believe it was, oh, that's the other one that I wanted to look at. I was talking to a couple of well, they're not partners. I guess they're clients, but they love talking markets with me too. And it's so funny because one of the guys was like, "Oh, so what do you think about Kraft Heinz?" I was like, "That's so funny that you ask about that because we were talking about buying that thing in the SOF meetup that we had a couple weeks ago." So let's take a look at that because he said he bought it. Now, I don't know how good of a trader this guy is. He's got a lot of money, so I assume he's got to know what he's doing, but this is often a dangerous supposition to make. Just because you have a lot of money doesn't mean you know what you're doing. So let's take a look at Kraft Heinz and see if this thing's found a short-term bottom at all. Oh my God, that Beyond Meat thing is just blowing my mind. All right, so this thing has not broken out just yet. When's their earnings? This isn't denominated on my chart, but I really like, and this was, again, something floated by the SOF team. This looks really interesting to me. This is a Buffett company. He's probably, and he has actually been restructuring the company throughout since their big earnings beat. What the hell happened here? Estimate 67 cents, but they're not showing their actual earnings here. I must have missed that. That's interesting. Let's see if we can see that. Kraft Heinz earnings. I got a Josh message. I got to consult with Josh and see what he says. He says, where's your message, Josh? Oh, I haven't even been checking the lounge. I guess if you're not in the Hangout, I'm not really paying attention to the lounge. I only have one screen, so I'm kind of stuck here. Saw this on your chart. You had up, looks like potential. Oh, you're looking at VRUS. Yeah, that's an interesting one. I'm not sure what's going on with this. I think that structurally, this thing looks pretty dangerous. I don't mean to sidetrack us. But what's happened is this thing has consolidated. I mean, I like this. This almost looks like a bull flag on the way down. Is it a good buy? I mean, I really want to see structure, right? Because what happened here, this to me is a bunch of M's, right? If I were to switch this to a line chart, this is a breakdown. I'd argue that this bigger position here isn't quite the market structure that I would like, but it looks dangerous. I would like to see some WE action in this level because, again, this isn't the greatest location. This is sort of outside the scope of like, let's go slow and buy low. This is more like, Thomas trading. Like, I want to buy something that looks like it's consolidating and looks like it could potentially have another leg up. Yeah, I like this company. I think they just inked a deal with the, I believe it's the MLB. They had some exclusive like ice cream, whatever the hell it is, inked with the MLB. So ostensibly that's going to give them a lot of sales. So it's an interesting company. Earnings on 8/1. Oh, that must be for Kraft Heinz. Yeah. Oh, yeah, Kraft Heinz. Okay, so there's your VRUS. I mean, I wouldn't be advocating buying this thing here yet, just until you get your market structure. But if this does give us a nice W here, this thing's going to take off quite quickly, especially in the face of this bullish divergence, like Josh said. So yeah, thanks for keeping on my toesies. And what else we got here? So I want to go back to Kraft Heinz earnings. He said they were on August 8th, but what the heck happened with their earnings from May 9th? I don't understand why this thing wasn't showing. Earnings announcement, this is saying May 22nd. So did TradingView get their shit wrong here? Estimated on 5/22. The consensus forecast is 0.6 cents. All right, so we got to wait till May 22nd. For whatever reason, TradingView is getting that wrong. Do I have, okay, that's something else. So I don't know, I like this name. Do we have any real reasons to be buying here? I mean, there's no real breakout yet. There's no market structure. You're just kind of buying this with the intent that you're kind of relying on Buffett, right? You do have some reasoning here. I mean, it looks like this thing might actually put in some kind of div, but the problem is this will need to go to new lows. So maybe we look for one push lower. Like for instance, if this thing does break to $30 right before earnings, it's a setup. And that setup would be people are loading the boat long. I mean, that's not really a reason, and it's an opinion. You know, don't trade off of that. That's just the way that I see the market. This thing could easily crap out again if they miss earnings, right? Just remember who's buying these products. Why would people be buying these products? It's, you know, you just kind of stick your neck out. You have tight stop set, and maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. I think the folks in the SOF community are playing it through options. So they've got a 6-month time period. I think some people bought a year's worth of time, so they don't have to worry about things like earnings impacting their positions in the short term. That's probably the better, safer way to play it. That's how Brian's doing it. You know, that's the right way of doing it, I guess, would be the way of putting it. You give by yourself enough time for this thing to pick its ass up off the ground. All right, so that's Kraft Heinz. All right, I think we should probably move into what everybody wants to hear about, and that is our crypto. Crypto is going cray-cray, and I love it, right? I love every second of what's happening here. I think it's wonderful that we're seeing things pick themselves up. We're seeing people get excited about it. You know, we always, for like a year, we're just talking about, oh, it's a developer cycle, and this will let people get things properly ready for when the market does explode higher. They're going to get the network ready for higher transactions, for congestion. We're going to see the development of new coins that are going to impact the space. And we've seen all those things happen, right? We spent a good year and a half getting the crypto shit together. As Brian would say, I think like a year and a half ago, he's like, get all your shit ready, get it into a nice, neat little bag, and get it ready. So because by the time this thing takes off, you're going to be great. You're going to be in a great position. I hope you did that. You know, I talked about that yesterday about getting your plan together and all that stuff about making sure you have your ducks lined up in a row before you jump into this market when it's in a FOMO-y poised position. And that's where we're at right now. So right now, we're in the FOMO position, and you've heard me say that for the last 3 days. I think I'm going to tone down the lecturing stuff. You guys have heard enough of it. If you haven't heard it already, just tune into like Tuesday and Wednesday show. You'll get enough dosage of that that'll make you never want to buy the market. But let's take a look at some news here. So Chinese investors are turning to Bitcoin and crypto hedge bet. Wait a second, isn't that what I just talked about? I didn't even read this freaking article. I was like, oh, that sounds interesting. I wonder if that implanted itself into my mind subconsciously, and I just kind of ran with that. But yeah, it's interesting to see that this is being parroted out by the media. You're seeing it on the news. I'm even getting text messages from random friends that are just like, hey, should I be buying into crypto? Are these trade wars going to continue to push the market up? So we got to see what happens there. All right, sorry about that. I'm getting distracted here. So Trump hiked tariffs, thousands of goods on Friday, blah, blah, blah. Price continued to go up. No surprise. According to CNBC, head of international fixed income basically said that, hang on a second. All right, so while we do not see the direct flows of who is buying Bitcoin, we can see that the bid for Bitcoin is this latest run is that blah, 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 big tick down in the value of the China. Good Lord, this is like word for word almost what I just went over. All right, sorry for wasting your time again. Oh, here's something cool, right? Everyone was talking in the lounge yesterday about Stellar, XLM, the Lumens. That's IBM's version of their crypto coin, their altcoin, shaltcoin, whatever the heck you want to call it. Let's see what that thing's doing. This thing has gone up by 50%, 20 cents on the horizon. Okay, cool. It's exciting, right? As we see Bitcoin cool off, we're starting to see money piling into the alts. Specifically, as we went sideways in Bitcoin, we saw Ethereum start to take off. So let's take a look at Stellar. Here we go. Let's do this in terms of maybe you. Sorry, guys. All right, let's take a look at XLM USD. See what that thing looks like. I know from the charts that were being posted in the lounge, it looked like some nice WA action, some nice market structure. Should we take a look at Binance, Trex, or Coin? I'm going to do Coinbase. No, is that going to have enough historical information? Probably not. This thing probably only goes back, what, like 3 months or something? All right, so we're going to go 1 day, take a look at, good Lord, what is going on with my computer? What do I need to close here? Oh, this is why. Close that. And let's close this. And that should do better. Sorry, guys. All right, XLM. Yeah, this isn't really so helpful. Coinbase. Is this a nice market structure bottom? I don't think so, but it's interesting to note that a lot of these names denominated in BTC had this similar price action, very V-bottomy into areas that, at least from this chart, don't make sense. So let's see if we can take a look at a chart that has more data on it. Binance isn't going to be helpful. I hate looking at Finex, but screw it. Oh, this is all BTC. Okay, so let's just look at Bittrex. I'll cave here. So this is denominated in Bitcoin. Again, same deal, right? This is just no market structure. This is happening across all of the altcoins, or most of them. You're seeing this really long-winded bullish divergence that's confirmed, but you're seeing V-bottom action. We talked about that yesterday. It's not good. Like, I don't like seeing that. I like the fact that there's volume piling into this, but now you have to ask yourself, like, how much is this just like FOMO-y? How much of this is the money pulling out of Bitcoin and pushing these altcoins higher? I'm very skeptical of buying at these levels. In fact, I'm not buying at these levels. I want to see things come back down and give us an opportunity. And I think we will see that, whether it's brief or it's some kind of news that sends us going sideways and sort of back down into reload zones. I mean, you're going to see this thing get really tempting. It's going to continue to move, but I mean, how much higher can this go even in this, arena? And the problem is, like, how do you justify that you bought down here? I mean, maybe if you were some kind of a day trader or something and you looked at a 4-hour chart, even that doesn't look nice. Maybe like inverse head and shoulder ideas, but that's not even that nice. So lots of V bottom action on this name. I don't know. Like, does anyone who's taken this position, do you have any really nice? Okay, so Kevin's saying, look at Kraken weekly W's against USD. So why aren't the other exchanges doing that? Like, Kraken, I know, has OTC, but they're not going to. That kind of volume isn't going to be expressed on these charts, right? The whole point of OTC is that it's kept quiet off the market. Why does this look so much different than the rest of the exchanges? So if anyone can highlight that for me, I think it would help us all understand what the heck's going on here. Like, why does Kraken look so much nicer on the 4-hour? I mean, even the daily, so you said weekly W. Maybe that's what I'm missing. So you guys are better altcoin traders than I am. But yeah, look at that. It's a pretty nice weekly unconfirmed market structure W, though. So keep that in mind if you're trading on the weekly, not quite confirmed. So this kind of goes more toward my narrative that, yeah, maybe we can poke up a little bit more, but I think we're eventually going to come back down and test these levels that we're at right now. I mean, how much more do we go up is really the hardest question to answer in a FOMO-like environment, right? Is this the shaltcoin buzz that everybody's been waiting for, where doubles are popping off? I mean, could this thing go to 38.2? into these areas here. I mean, that's the biggest thing that the biggest thing that comes into play here is your own trading plan, right? Like I don't have a crystal ball. I can't tell you it's going to 38.2 or if it's going to crap out right here. But what I do see in the underlying indicators on a lot of these positions is there is no market structure tops. There are no bearish divergences. Volumes are all breaking out to new highs, and things just look exciting, but FOMO-y. So as this environment continues to breed more and more FOMO, it's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy. So the problem again is, when does that stop? What news comes out to kind of put the lid on this steam engine and stops this thing from running forward? Could be anything, right? So I think it's really, again, dangerous game here. So let's see what this article says. They're looking for potential for Stellar to rise and climb above the 20-cent level, which we mentioned here. Yeah, that's 38.2. Okay, cool. You guys see it going all the way to 38.2, but what's your reasoning here? I don't know what these lines are. Yeah, they've got some fibs, and I don't know, maybe that's a long-term trend line. This looks like RSI broken out, or maybe this is stock RSI. And yeah, these things look good, sure. But what are your reasons for a trade? I don't, whatever. I'm sounding like a broken record. Weekly W is on all USD charts, not just China, not just Kraken. Okay, so I just misread that. All right, let's continue through the news before we get into more names. I'm sorry, I feel like this brief isn't going to be as great as the last couple. Today, this is cool, right? You've got these luxury good manufacturers like Louis Vuitton and Christian Dior. They're like, hey, we need blockchain to verify our luxury goods. It's just going to be hilarious, right? I mean, what a great idea for these luxury good manufacturers to put their bags on the blockchain so you can verify that, hey, it's actually a real bag. What if they did something as crazy like put a QR code, or like Louis Vuitton has that very well recognized checker pattern? What if they turn that checker pattern into a QR code, and any schmuck on the street can just scan the QR code and be able to tell who's carrying a real bag or a fake bag? I mean, how nutso would that be if that's on the blockchain and they designed something like this? That would almost be like the ultimate way of furthering their brand loyalty for people who dish out real money for stuff like that. Yeah, I know. Who gives an F? Well, all the people that pay 3 to 10 grand for Louis Vuitton bags, right? People will be like, oh, I wonder if that person's actually... I don't understand the mentality, but it is what it is. But it's cool that they're trying to use blockchain. A lot of supply chain companies are also using blockchain in innovative ways. How the luxury good manufacturers will use this, I don't know. That was probably a patented idea that I probably shouldn't have said on the air, but who knows? Hopefully they don't do stuff like that. Blah, blah. All right, Ethereum whale. Slightly over 370 people hold 33% of Ethereum, right? So this has been in the news very, very often over the last few months about the fears of decentralization, that Ethereum isn't decentralized enough. Too many big people hold big positions. All right. I mean, that's really all there is to this article. We kind of debunked this a little bit a couple weeks ago. I think that the way that, that was for Bitcoin, actually. I think there is an issue with Ethereum decentralization. And, they're talking about transitioning to proof of stake and trying to get the proper incentives and the proper minimum stake requirements. And they've lowered it considerably. I think it was like hundreds of Ethereum, and now it's just like tens of Ethereum to actually participate in the proof of stake model. And also, they need to change what you're actually going to get paid to stake your positions. And I think they need to pay people that have smaller positions a little bit more favorably than the larger positions, just so that you encourage decentralization. But that's just one guy's opinion on how that should work. And I have no idea what I'm talking about when it comes to that stuff. So, I mean, really no other news in the space other than what we were seeing, trade war, Chinese yuan, people filing into that thing. So let's take a look at Ethereum and Bitcoin, and maybe if you guys want to look at a couple shalt coins. Yeah, Artem's saying Dash. Colleen wants me to look at Phil. Oh, that's not a coin. Boy, I've been doing this daily brief a lot here. Saw something about trying to stop blood diamonds with blockchain. Yeah, actually, I have a really good friend who's in the diamond industry, and we were talking. He knows a lot of people that are very well known in the diamond industry, including top guys at De Beers, and they don't really want this stuff on the blockchain. And the other part is, having it actually on the blockchain and putting the information in the diamond and laser engraving it. And they haven't solved that issue yet. So I think it might be in the future, but how do you really stop blood diamonds with blockchain? I don't know if there's a viable way of doing that just yet, but it's a cool idea, right? Anything that makes life better and involves blockchain, I'm all for it, and especially stopping things like blood diamonds. All right, so Mr. Bear did exactly what he said he was going to do last night, and I sold my position at like 247 as I kept my order in. And I may not have done exactly what I said, because what I said yesterday was I was going to keep 10 or 20% of my position. And I made a mental note to go in and change my order after I was finished yip yapping. But unfortunately, one thing led to another, and I did not change my order. So I actually sold the whole frickin' position. I made a cool 44% on it. So I was pretty happy. And the price continued to go up, right? Like it looked pretty bad and continues to look like it might be topping out. And that's, a key word, might be topping out. Do we have any M's? Do we have any divergences? No, but as price goes exponential, you increase the risk for an exponential move downward. I don't care if we don't have market structure tops to signal down moves, right? Many of you often try to get in on moves to the upside with market structure, and sometimes it doesn't come in, right? That happened on Lumen. We saw that V bottom. We saw it in Ethereum denominated in Bitcoin. That was also a V bottom. Sometimes these things will V top, and they V top violently, and they can come crashing down. Sure, it doesn't have all the hallmarks of topping out that you'd like to see, but if a sell program hits the market and you've gone long in the face of something that's like, well, I don't see market structure, I don't see any divs, I don't see any M's in OBV. Okay, great. Those are all real good reasons to remain in a long position, but they're not reasons to open up a long position. And at the same time, it's hard for a guy like me to be like, you know what, I want to keep myself in this position longer. Like when I bought this position, I was talking to you guys last week about that ABCD at 247. And, I think it was also a bot target for a couple of members. And it just, ended up tripping up the way that they trade the bot and stopping them out. But, I'm holding the thing because I am holding to my targets, right? If the thing really wanted to stop me out, it would have. But this thing just continued to move higher. So rhetoric aside, the important thing is, I did what I said I was going to do. Do I regret doing it? I mean, what am I going to do? Get out a magic crystal ball or my time machine and be like, well, I should have known it was going to 280. I mean, yeah, it didn't have all the hallmarks that the thing was going to top out. But again, I already discussed what could potentially happen. And to not take profits as we're going up here, I really do believe is foolish. I mean, you're seeing things start to slow down. Yeah, you look at your higher time frames on Ethereum and you start salivating at 38.2 targets that are above the range that I drew yesterday, right? We have two different ranges to work with on Ethereum. And I apologize, I'm going to turn this into a 2-day chart just because that sideways consolidation that we had through November to March is just so long. So 38.2 from this high here is 366. And if you want to take the absolute high of the range, it's, what was it, like 420, I think we said yesterday? No, it's like 575 and maybe a little higher. 590 looks like. Yeah, absolute highs are 590. So, I mean, of course, you're going to get real horny looking at a target like that. You're just like, triple up, yeah. I mean, I get it. It's hard not to get that way in the face of what's going here. But these markets they're not going. I mean, look, in 2017, we saw the most incredible bull run that many of us who were new to the market had never seen before. But this is typical of crypto, these kind of exponential moves up. And I hate to talk about him because I haven't been following him for so long, but I decided to watch Tone Vays and see what he's been on about. And Tone's like, I didn't see this rally coming out of anywhere. I don't understand where it came from. There was no technical reason for the rally. And I'm like, dude, did you forget to look at the weekly chart of all of these names? Like, do you even know what a market structure bottom looks like? I mean, come on, man. I don't know what this guy trades. I know he does the TD, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Maybe he forgot to color in the lines for a couple days and missed his signal. I don't know what it is, but I mean, look, even on Ethereum here, bullish divergence, market structure, gave you like how many, a full freaking month to get in on this trade. I mean, there were guys that were posting in the lounge in April like, hey, is anyone else seeing a weekly market structure W here? Because I haven't seen in a long time. Like even our own members here were able to spot that. And it was so awesome to see, like, guys that are new to trading just took the level 1 course, maybe just watched a couple of the tutorials in the lounge. They're spotting stuff like that. So for him to come out and say there's no real reason for this thing to be rallying in the face of this China news, in the face of the technicals, it just makes me feel bad for the people that are paying attention to him. And he's like, well, if you don't know how to trade, you shouldn't be doing what I say. It hurts, right? It's sad. There's a lot of people that get burned by listening to these quote unquote professionals and they become famous. Yeah, it's just whatever. I'm not here to shit on his parade. He makes money doing what he does, and great. I'm sure he makes money in other ways. But Tyler Jenks, I watched it. Oh yeah, that's the Hyperwave guy. That was another guy that I was looking at. He was calling for like 1,800 Bitcoin or something. And then he tweeted out like 3 days ago or like a week ago. Oh, he was calling for 1K, Alex. I mean, this guy is like, come on. Like, I get it. You know, you guys have to be, this is why I don't want to be ever on these public shows, because I don't know. Like, I feel like these guys change what they say just so that they get more followers. You know, if a guy like Brian, you know, he does those public shows and, you know, people watch it, but I don't think they're smart enough to understand that, hey, I actually need to spend some time to understand some of this thing, some of what's going on here. And it just takes too long. I just want someone to spoon feed me the levels. And those guys will spoon feed them levels. I bet anyone who listened to Tyler Jenks, they probably put their money on the exchange and they set an order at $1,000. They said, yeah, I'm going to get rich if this fills me. Okay. I mean, that's not to say this thing can't go down again, right? That's the other thing we have to be worried about. Maybe this is a good time for me to whip out the overlay chart of Bitcoin from 2016 or 17 to now, just so that we have an interesting roadmap for how we can expect these things to unfold, right? That's definitely something Brian would do with his mirrored candles. And I love the way that he does that. I mean, once Brian comes back next week, he's going to be like, come on, Thomas, you should have seen that this thing was going to $8,000. I don't know what you were doing here. And then I'll just laugh because Brian's the best. And it's, again, I mean, the funniest part to me is the fact that Brian's literally giving the shit away for free on the Broiler Chicken show. And there's only like 500 people watching him, or less than 1,000. And Tone Vase has like, how many thousand? He's got like 26,000 people watching him. And that's crazy. It just blows my mind how ignorant people are. I don't get it. I really don't understand what the public is thinking. They just like to lose money. All right, so here we have our Bitfinex chart. I used Bitfinex because there was more historical data on it. This blue is the mirrored candles. These are an exact overlay with time frame match to what happened in 2015 or 16, the last bull run. I feel like we've had so many, I keep forgetting when they happen. So interestingly, what we have here is sort of this little bit of a decoupling, right? The thing you have to remember is that history often rhymes, but it doesn't repeat itself. And I think that this is no different. While we have some similar action in the market to 2015, where we came down, made new lows, see this blue candle here, then we kind of bottom a bit, put in this like weird, almost like a market structure W, but then we came back down. We toyed around with it, went sideways and down, and eventually we broke out. But it took a long time. Now, what happened after we broke out there? So let's zoom out. Maybe we're just on an accelerated time frame. Did we continue to make new highs here? I think that's kind of how this unfolded. Yeah, so I took that there. I mean, are we on an accelerated schedule here, or are we simply just kind of retesting this range, right? Was that 6,000? My question to all of you, and I think this is a fascinating thought experiment. Let's imagine that Bakkt actually launched in November, and we had that institutional product come online. Wall Street was all, horny for Bitcoin, and they're like, haha, we finally got our Bitcoins, and they're in a custodial service, and everyone's happy and excited for that. Would that have actually broken? Would the market have actually broken after Bakkt launched in November? Would this $6,000 range still be in play? Did the break and the postponement of Bakkt give us sort of the buying opportunity of a lifetime? Or was this simply just, we needed to come down and we're just kind of bouncing back up, and then we need to come back down into that range and go sideways again, maybe make new lows? I don't know, because look what happened here. We made new lows again after this thing tried to break out. So I think that might actually be on the table for the longer term if we don't get some, real crazy action breaking out above, call it, we can go and look at some fibs, so remind me to do that. I'm not going to be calling levels that'll mark the bull market, but there's no mistake about it that on this daily chart, we are embedded, we are overbought, we are not in divergence. We do have OBV breaking to new highs. So can we continue to stay a step higher, right? Remember I said, maybe 9, 10K could potentially still happen to the upside, but just look at this chart. We're again back to our thought experiment. Imagine the $6,000 didn't actually break and we continue to move sideways. That would be very similar to what we would have had here. And I'm wondering if this is sort of just a whole bunch of people combined with the China, trade war that are like, oh, I bought so many Bitcoin at $6,000. I'm so happy that it's going back up again. Are they participating in the market again, or are they selling? Are the institutions selling? These are all important questions that you have to ask yourself. And I'm just curious that maybe this is the sort of rhymey reason that is different from our last bull run, and that we're just going to crap out again to the downside. Now, again, internals don't support that thesis just yet. If we start developing divergences, right, we would have to go higher and higher in order for this MACD to go into divergence. The other problem is, could this market just V-bottom, V-top, and sort of come back down into this level here, maybe 6,000, maybe down to 5,000, and that would actually be bullish to me. To see the market come back down into these two levels, consolidate for, the better part of June, and you don't see this thing going back down sub, call it 4,500, that to me would be like, okay, game's on. This crypto thing is actually getting its shit together, and people are really getting interested in buying these dips. And this isn't just simply like every person in China freaking out and running for the exit to get out of their currency. So keep that in mind. I know it's like a wonky thought experiment, but it's something interesting to ponder here. So I'm just going to kind of go back here to the lounge and see if anyone said anything here. Market cycle should slow down. What if you shift the historic to the left, line up with the big pump you are showing in November? Yeah, look, this is possible, but this sidewaysy action, could this just kind of been cut short? That's also a possible scenario, right? Where we've just accelerated the cycle with this China situation, and that was the driver to get this bear market to flip to a bull market. That's also possible. And maybe that's the rhymey reason here that we are entering a new bull market. But how do you make that decision here? That's, that's the fun part. That's where, you all get to follow how you would trade this market. So I'm looking at a weekly chart here. Interestingly, that W that you're seeing that came in the market in late August of 2015. It's fascinating. Like this thing lined up almost perfectly across this time frame with the present day. So that W that you saw come in 2015, 16, whatever it was, this marked the bottom. Now, did we just speed that up here? That's an interesting question, right? Could very well be, right? This thing did pop off, went higher than previous consolidation areas, which we're kind of doing right now, it's actually sitting right there, right? This is a key level, I would argue, right? I'm using Finex, so maybe this isn't perfect, but this is the level to watch. If we can break solidly above that area, I think that that might be a signal. You can see what happened, though, after we did that. We went sideways for a long, long time. This was, good Lord, from like May all the way back to November. So that was 6 months. So just imagine for a second that where we are right now, the market just stops on a dime. Like it hit a brick wall. This was the level, comes down a little bit, maybe tags a couple of those levels I was talking about to the downside, and just goes sideways for 6 months and does jack shit. That would be the same thing as a bear market. I would imagine that people would just be like, okay, come on, do something. What happened here? Crypto was so exciting, and then for 6 months, it just goes silent. Do you know what that's called? Accumulation. I'm going to just give it to you. Yeah, it's crypto. It's summer too. There you go. So lots of consolidation. And I think that's where people, yeah, sideways channel is a good one too. That is the sign of accumulation, of big money buying this thing and supporting it, which was happening at 6,000. It was just probably a little too early. Anyway, I don't know if this is helping you guys. I'm sorry. Like I've just gone off on totally different tangents here. I mean, really, the narrative hasn't changed. The targets to the upside haven't changed either. I mean, the other cool thing here is, oh, this weekly is not. Where was the daily golden cross? I'm interested to see that. When did that happen? And let me use a different exchange. So the daily golden cross, right? That was another thing that we were talking about in late April. This gold line here is your 50 moving average, and the 200 period moving average is in white. That gold cross happened the week of May 24th, or the day of May 24th on Bittrex. I would assume that happened earlier than, say, for instance, Bitstamp or the base of coin. Yeah, so that was April 24th. And then on Coinbase, we're looking at, oh, wow, fascinating. It's like a day before. I don't know what that means, but hey, there you go. So golden cross, great signal. If you only traded moving averages or golden crosses and death crosses on the higher time frames, you'd probably be making a good amount of money. So as these things continue to catch up to the market, do we see pullbacks? Do we see sideways? Do we stop on a dime? You know, these are all things that, you know, you don't have to worry about if you're not FOMOing. So where are the potential targets? I'll just go over them one more time. Coinbase here, I'm using a fib that's a little bit different than the highs because actually, where was that red line that I wanted to see? Interestingly, this is where it is. So we're right at Mountain Man. So this thing really needs to break above Mountain Man for me to get kind of excited that, hey, maybe we do break a little bit higher and then kind of settle down, go sideways for a while, let people kind of breathe and let the market just like, okay, I'm back to life. I've been dead for a year and a half. Let me just reanimate for 6 months is essentially what I could see happening. And then we resume the bull market sort of into seasonality windows. But in that sort of environment, you'll have altcoins get a bid, right? You're going to see money flow throughout the rest of the system. But again, my warning yesterday was just remember, a lot of the altcoins are going to suffer if they're going to be delisted. I know that Benjamin and Adam might have been working on something that would be cool. Cole says, about to confirm 128-200 SMA cross. I'm not familiar with that one. Yeah, that's interesting. I've never really traded a 128 moving average cross. Is there a like a Fibonacci number in there or some kind of mathematical, those 38.2 levels? Check it out on Bitcoin. Okay. All right. So yeah, I mean, I'd really be looking for a move above Mountain Man, sort of give me the signal that, hey, yeah, crypto's back and back to life. And the fact of the matter for crypto to continue to survive would be that retest of this breakout. And I'd argue that breakout level is sort of the 6,000 to 4,500 level. And I fear if we lose those two levels that the bear market's back. So keep that in mind for the long term. There, mark my words, whatever it is. that would not be good for this market here. And I've got like multiple fibs. Yeah, so 200 period moving average is kind of like right in that 4,500 level. Each day we continue the 200 period moving average will move higher. So I mean, it's cool, right? This is really exciting. We really haven't had the opportunity to talk about a bull market for a lot of people that are listening to us right now. Now, other things that I'm paying attention to, let's keep the opinion and rhetoric to a minimum. I've talked about Ethereum Classic. I liked this name even like a month ago. I wanted to buy it, and it just like came so close to my buy level. I had bids working like sub $5 on Coinbase, and this damn thing just did not give me a fill. In fact, I was like 12 cents away from being filled here, and no use crying over spilt milk. Next bus in 5 seconds or 10 minutes, as Brian would say. So, I mean, good Lord, look at this freaking OBV, guys. You don't get signals like that every day. Bam! Money has hit this market. WWW, lots of buy volume. So, I mean, I missed the bus on this. I'm not FOMOing on this name at all. I would be looking to buy, and I'd probably be setting my bids in the $6 level. There's no divs, any kind of retrace back down to those levels. I'd be happy to buy a chunk of Ethereum Classic because, hey, not only look at this big wick up here, everyone remembers wicks and tails like to be eaten, but look at these highs here. I mean, I know arguably this thing popped off and already tagged some of those reload zones, but if we even get close to that, I mean, if we bought at $6, you're getting an easy double up to $12, and then I guess $18 is quite far away, so we can't entertain the triple. But hey, there you go, a US dollar double that could potentially come in if you buy at that. If I can actually get my bids in at the $6 level. The last thing, I hate covering this stupid thing, but people were talking about Ripple. I don't know what's going on with this thing. I definitely put in a market structure W. Oh, and this is on Schminex. Let's see if I can change from Schminex. I don't know if that's a good name for it. Let's go to Bitstamp. Sounds good. Take a look. Bitstamp is 42 cents. Very similar to Coinbase. All right, so market structure W, no real div. I mean, yeah, maybe, is this a div? This made new lows here. So that was your div. That played out. New div here. That played out. What's this crap down here? No real div here, right? This is a wonky, again, weird market. No easy L-Tanganator trade or anything like that coming in here. Just market structure W, and away it went. And don't be freaking buying this name. Definitely not in these levels. Same deal. No FOMO. Next, what else do I want to look at? Litecoin would probably be nice. Oh, and I have to look at Dash for somebody, so I won't forget to do that. Litecoin. Why do I have all these Finex names? I guess I used to pay attention to Finex before the Tether thing went south. So let's do Stamp. See how Litecoin. I'm actually interested in Litecoin. I like the way that this thing's broken out. I like how it's sort of retesting this breakout level. But what I do not like is this potential bear div, right? That to me looks yucky. But what's going, oh wow, what is this? This should be my Bitcoin longs versus shorts. But this is on Finex. I don't know if I can really pay attention to this, but clearly you can see the shorts ran for the exits. They've all been squeezed. Night shorts. Is it time to squeeze the longs? This is, again, Bitcoin, right? Even though it says Litecoin down there. Just interesting to note that these shorts have now come off precipitously, and that's that. So let's see what Litecoin longs versus shorts are doing. Here's Ethereum longs versus shorts. Again, this is on Finex. What kind of gravity do you apply to this? It's hard to say after the fiasco. Nothing really too juicy here on the weekly on Ethereum longs versus shorts. Litecoin longs versus shorts. Come on. Right, so you've got this 4-hour potential div coming in. You've got OBV that's not making new highs on here. Litecoin doesn't look so good to me anymore. Now, if we can actually break out on higher volume, yeah, it would look good. But things look like they're pausing a bit. Bitcoin's come off a couple $100 from its highs yesterday. and last night. So I think crypto is kind of like, it's almost like it had a big sugar rush and now it's coming down a little bit. Maybe it needs another injection of sugar. But yeah, here, Litecoin, I can't really advocate for even myself to buy something like this. This looks really not nice. Even on the daily, let's see, on Coinbase. Yeah, potential div, a little bit of sell volume coming in, right? Could this thing just continue higher? This is a dangerous trade to be taking at these levels, no FOMO kind of stuff. If I were crazy and I bought here, I'd probably have to set my stop below $91. So what would I be doing? I mean, this is just like this is a crazy idea, but show me W's. There's another W. Here's another potential weekly W. Again, this is super FOMO-y, guys. So this is what you start thinking about when you start thinking that you're missing out. And this is a very slippery slope. So if I were to do this, what I would be doing is I would be buying the $92 to $93 mark, and I would be trying to get a tag of $174. I would risk $5 to the downside, have a very tight stop to where we opened up on the New York Hill Zone, right? These two candles here should provide enough reason for you, and if you're really nutso, and I don't want to be nutso, this is too much to lose on a position, right? If you open up at 90, call it 90, $92, and your stop is at $82 or $80, that's way too much to lose on a position. If you are tempted, like if I'm tempted to buy Litecoin because Litecoin hasn't broken out in the same way that the other ones have, and I'm just wondering if they need to play catch up. And as a crazy person who would exercise risk management, my play would be to buy 92, to have a stop, call it at like $90 or maybe a little bit lower than that. And if it trips my stop, I'm out. I don't even want to play around with it anymore. The second this bear div confirms, I'm also out. The second I see signs of market structure top, I'm out, right? This is so high risk. If you're not sitting at your computer, you don't, like, I shouldn't even be taking this trade if I can't sit here and do this thing and stare at it, which sucks, right? That's what happens when you FOMO, is you get glued to your computer and you'd rather be buying at the bottoms so that you're in a great position. Can I check the Litecoin Bitcoin pair? Looks very similar to the Ethereum Bitcoin. Nothing's changed since yesterday, Alicia. It's just like V bottomy. And I'll just show that here real quick. So LTC, BTC, right? V bottom on the daily. The 4-hour really didn't give that great of a signal. Internals on this thing look empty. Okay. Let's go to the daily. There we go. So bullish div, V bottom, 200 period moving average acting as support. Can we see Litecoin and Bitcoin come down? Like yesterday, we talked about potential W's coming in this market. That's what I'd be waiting for. Some kind of dip, maybe a couple candles down, and then round the bottom and come back up as we take through the weekend as we clean up a little bit. That could potentially be an interesting trade, right? I don't think the train's left the station on the Litecoin trade denominated in Bitcoin, just like I don't think the train has left the station on the Ethereum denominated in Bitcoin trade either. Where is that thing? Here we go. So this thing's at 0.03. Well, maybe this thing is leaving the station. Retesting its consolidation and breakdown. This thing's bull-dived in a big way. Maybe the trade to look for again is on Litecoin, kind of like we were seeing in the US dollar denominated range as well. So keep that in mind there. Not so exciting. So anyway, let me cover Dash. I kind of like jumped the line there. Sorry about that, Artem. So let me take a look at Dash denominated in, did you want Bitcoin or did you want it denominated in Cheetos? BTC. All right, no Cheetos for you. Fine. Dash BTC. What do you think? This thing is very similar to Ethereum and Litecoin. I don't want Binance. Dash BT. Okay. Okay. I don't know how to type. Dash BTC. Let's use Trex. All right. Same deal. V bottom. This is not a market structure bottom. OBV has broken out. Bull div isn't there yet. This thing might still give you a nice signal. If we come back down here, just imagine W's. That's really how you set yourself up for success. That's what you want to see. Come back down, break the neckline, give us a bull div, and away she goes. And that's what you're going to be looking for. Do you take this as your high to work with? Yeah, maybe. Like, where do you look for your doubles? If you buy at roughly, maybe you can start to see little W's come in as this comes back down, and you can hunt for those on the lower time frame. So 0.017, you'd be looking for 0.03, 14, and that looks like it's outside the scope of this current range. Dash doesn't look as good as some of the other ones. I mean, sure, this thing could blow up fast, but Dash was a story that I think, what's the Dash really doing? Like, are people actually interested in this thing? I know they got that spokeswoman or a new spokeswoman to pump this thing up, but I mean, Dash was just all about advertising it at conventions and just kind of making a name for itself. I don't know, they used to be like Darkcoin and Anonymous in some ways. It's Davos' favorite. Yeah, privacy. I don't know, like, is it really that good for privacy? I thought there were a couple others that were superior to Dash, but I'm no expert in that. So, whatever your favorite privacy coin is, I can understand the fundamental reason for something like this. And sure, as money starts piling into these names, these highs may look like nothing compared to what we saw, years and years ago into the last run-up. So then you have to take fibs and go there. So if you do get that nice bull div, you do get nice structure, then yeah, 38.2 for a double, probably not that hard to get to as the money starts getting spread around. That's something you have to really kind of assume here in the space. And I don't think Dash is like a no name, but I think there are other names that, the big guys, and really what you have to also understand is that there are big money players that have, hedge funds or family funds, whatever the hell it is. What coins would they feel safest buying? Is Dash going to be one of them? That's only something you can answer yourself. I would personally like a couple of the other anonymous coins. I mean, I always like Dash, but for whatever reason, I can never get in on this thing properly. It's like kind of like the VIX, where it eludes me as far as being able to open up a trade. So that's Dash for you. I don't know if that helps you out at all. Yeah, it's got a cult following, I know. But yeah, I would wait for the W. You don't want to be buying these V bottoms. It's just dangerous, right? You want to have your plan, and most people should have a W in their plan to trade with. So Benjamin MT is asking for VET. I am not a VET, but I will check on the VET coin. You want that in dollars or US or Bitcoin? VeChain. Oh yeah, I know VeChain. VeChain was like a really big story, like in 2017. VeChain USDT. So that would be, you have an exchange you prefer there? I'm guessing you're gonna say, what are you gonna say? You're gonna say Binance. Yeah. Binance it is. USDT. Oh, come on. Tetherus. Why do they do that? They make it sound, it's got a Latin ending, so it sounds more prim and proper. We only trade VeChain in the Tetherus proxy. Okay. This looks interesting. Market structure looks like it's coming in here a couple times, right? So you've got this nice wide bottom here. I mean, look how nice and pretty that is. We invalidated this market structure top. We have a really nice divergence here. Look at this thing. Boom de boom, divergence confirmed. Divergence confirmius. And then this thing's confirmed above this part here. Did I get that right? Yeah, this thing did make a lower low here, I believe. Let me make sure I'm not making shit up. Yeah, lower low, divergence. I like this thing. This looks juicy to me. I'm a fan. I don't think I can play this. Oh yeah, so this is on Binance. I think this is a cool one. I think that it would be important not to buy here. Like if a guy like me were playing this, I'd be looking for a check of these moving averages, which, hey, corresponds quite nicely to this neckline. I mean, out of all the Schultz that I'm seeing, this one really isn't a Schultz, right? From what I remember, I was really close to trying to participate in their ICO, but it turns out that that didn't happen. So I think the fundamentals behind this are pretty strong, if I'm not mistaken. Like really, really interesting coin. So where do I like buying this thing? Again, this 0.006 level, 6.6, 6.5, 6.4, whatever. Anywhere in here, 78.6. Maybe, are there any gaps here? I don't think there are, but this one looks juicy. I like the look of it. It looks really like it's got potential. You can see that it took off a little bit, and then they're just like, hey, not so fast, bub. Why don't you cool your jets? And that's what's going to happen here. I would imagine this thing's going to dip a bit more before really taking off. But this is why you got to start looking at these stupid, crazy fibs, and you start salivating over some of these crazy numbers. But I mean, if the money does start flowing into the other names, 38.2 tests may not be that crazy. I mean, we've already broken above that level, so makes sense that we got to go to the POC next after retesting that low. I might actually add this to one of my watch lists. Thanks for that. Do I think 128 sat target? I mean, I don't know, man. Could it go there as we continue to break higher? It's either that fib, or you got to take this one from here to here. I wish this thing wouldn't automatically overlay on top of the other ones. There's got to be something I can do to keep that from happening. So I'm going to move this to the right. Good Lord, it's 7. It's already half past the top of the hour, and it's the second hour. Sorry, Alex. I don't keeping you past your dinner time. This will be the last one. So really, hey, look, it got pretty close to that 38.2 mark on its most recent rise. So does it make sense? We're coming off a little bit. We probably have a little more up to go. Yeah, but hey, just draw your fibs. You have to sort of play around with them, right? There's no way of saying, hey, I think the target is that. It's really, where's your double level? Where do you get yourself into a risk-free position and just let the thing ride to your trading hearts, your trading plan's content? I'm not here to make predictions. I am in no means the kind of guy that knows what's happening in the market. I just kind of trade, right? I see levels, I'm in, I'm out, I'm in, I'm out. I have a narrative. I try to stick to the storyline and just trade, right? If I started coming on and being like Tone Vays, like, oh, I think it needs to go back down to 1800. That's where it's going to go. That's how you, like, why? Who are you? Who gave you the power to make the predictions? Why are you the guy? Why do you feel like you need to be the guy? You don't need to be the guy. Just trade it. Don't date it. Don't be a fortune teller. Cut it out. I don't get it, these freaking guys. I'm done. All right, so I think that's the end. We can end on my rant. Is there anything else that I should say here? I don't know how the last 3 days I managed to go an hour and a half each time. That's really, I had no idea I could talk that much. Anything else, guys? All right. Seems like we've satisfied the masses here. Yeah, now I totally understand Brian. Like, I could just keep going here. It's incredible. I hope you guys enjoyed. It's really been a fun 2 weeks for me. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope a lot of you got some value out of what I'm doing here. I hope that I helped you navigate these markets in a time that really Brian would be here for you guys. So I hope I was a good sort of substitute for him in his absence, and sort of kept you out of trouble, maybe even tempted you into a few trades that I was taking, and you started considering what would be best for you. I had a great time. This was just a real treat to be able to quarterback the program through a market like this. It's just I guess it was kind of a test for me. So I don't know how I did, but from a lot of the feedback, you all enjoyed it. I just hope that Bitcoin doesn't end up going to like 25 grand next month, and I look like a guy with egg all over his face. Like, how did you not see it going to 25 grand? I mean, I don't know how anyone can see it going to 25 grand, but hey, the crazy people, they always seem to know, but whatever. Anyway, keep an eye on things. Be smart. As things continue to move higher, you're going to get really, really tempted. Just do your thing. Don't be in a rush, and just be a professional, right? There's no reason why you can't be a professional. You're already in the right community. You have a very dedicated community in the chat room who's more than willing to help you out. Lots of people are there to answer questions. Please, if you have any questions, like even if I'm not around, other people who have really no commitment to answering them or responsibility, they're helping out of the goodness of their own heart. And that's what really makes me love this community. I see why Brian loves it so much, because I kind of hang around some of the other places. I'm on crypto Twitter, and that place is like poison. I don't know how anyone trades, reading crypto Twitter. My brain's in like a billion different places listening to those crazy people. But anyway, yes, I think tomorrow's options expiration is going to be interesting as well. If you are playing the stock market, try to get an idea as to how you want to play these things. Have if and then statements. Like, if it is simply an options expiration event and the market will go down, then how will I play that? If this is the market rallying even in the face of tariffs and we make new highs, then I will play this according to that. There's no reason why you have to stick to one story. The most important thing about being a trader is that your ideas must be loosely held. That you have to be a malleable person. If you're the kind of person that has an idea and a viewpoint and a narrative, and you think you know everything, you're fucked. I'm sorry, but if you got an ego in this place, your account's going to zero. There's no way around it. If you think you're right all the time, sorry, buddy, you're done. You're not a trader. So keep that in mind too. You should always have, as a trader, you should develop your ability to see as many possible outcomes as you can, and just entertain them. There's no reason why you shouldn't. Why handicap yourself? Same thing with crypto. If crypto continues to move up, if it does get face rippy, you have to sit on the sidelines. But maybe there's other things that you can play. Maybe Bitcoin rocks to the upside, but the other alts kind of sit on their faces. That was a weird thing to say. Then you could probably pile in your money into the other names and still profit from advances. Just because what you're watching explodes without you there doesn't mean there isn't a way to play it and express your ideas in another part of the market. So keep that in mind too. Anyway, I'm going to shut up before this thing goes 2 hours. It's been a real pleasure. Alex, you're the man. Everyone else who's been on the show, you guys are great. Everyone that's been commenting and helping me along too, thank you so much for your help. I'm excited to hear what Mr. B has to say next week, and it'll be the dynamic duo next week, so we'll be playing off of each other then, and it'll be back to your normally scheduled program. So without further ado, have a great trading day, great trading day tomorrow. Remember, it's crypto weekend, so be careful and make sure you're playing from a position of strength. So that's all for me. Thanks, everyone. It's been a true pleasure. Have a great rest of your week.